Hello everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Avernum 4. Last episode we took a look at the few regions here between Fort Draco and Formello, and now we're just going to go straight into Formello, see what we can find in there, see just what the hell is going on. So, let's go in and find out. You are outside the gates of Formello, the largest city in northeastern Avernum. It is a huge trade center, has many skilled craftsmen, and boasts one of the few schools of magic in all of Avernum. However, it's also eerily quiet. There are no merchants moving in and out. You don't hear the raucous calls of the market. Looking through the gates, you don't even see anyone on the streets. You enter the city of Formello and take another look around. Your first impressions were correct. The city is still occupied, but it is covered with a blanket of fear. The streets are empty. Everyone is hiding inside. An occasional face peers out a window at you and then ducks back into the shadows. There is a deep chill in the air. The whole town seems afflicted. As you look around, a guard emerges and approaches you. He doesn't get close, though, as if he's afraid you are carrying a disease. He says, "I'm sorry, traveler, the city is closed. You need authorization to enter." You show him the papers you got from Fort Draco. He reads them over and nods. "All right. You should see the mayor. City Hall is near the west gate." And before he flees back indoors, he says, "And stay away from the park. That's where it comes when it comes, and it will come back." The guard runs indoors. This guard has grown unaccustomed to speaking with people. He isn't hostile, but he won't say anything to you beyond "greetings, move along." This is Captain Graham, commander of the city guard. He looks you up and down and snorts. Before the trouble started, he was a mean man with a very short temper. The recent difficulties have eroded what little patience he had remaining. When you try to speak, he says, "Look, vagrants, the job board is outside. Want to help out? Read it and come back to me when you've done something useful." Okay. The farms around Formello have been afflicted by giant rats, who have been scavenging the harvested crops and applying nasty bites to those who try to stop them. Bring the severed tails of 10 scavenging rats to Captain Graham in the barracks. The rats are most often found in and around supply sheds. Generous bounty will be paid. If you remember what I mentioned in the last episode, that's the quest that you would be dealing with outside. And if you already killed them all, they do respawn, but very slowly, and you end up running around the place in circles repeatedly trying to find them. It's really frustrating. A letter was tacked up on the board. It is addressed simply to Atria, Farm, northwest of Formello. Perhaps if the letter were delivered, you might get a nice tip. A tenant in Kirchhoff's inn left his room without paying. Also, this tenant, an unstable fellow by the name of Hericus, left an unpleasant surprise in the room. This surprise is in the upstairs room. If you kill the surprise, Kirchhoff will pay 100 coins for your trouble. Oh goody, a surprise. There are a number of mines north of Formello. Alas, one of them, the Prongtail mine, has been infested by splice worms. The owner of the mine, Goodwife Hortense, wishes to see them removed. Should an adventurer, bold and true, manage to slay 8 of the foul beasts, Hortense will give a reward. She may be found down the road west from the Prongtail mine. Sounds fair enough. Training yard. Just a bunch of guards. Nothing special at all. Let's see. That's probably the inn. Formello Supply. This merchant has a small shop full of all sorts of useful supplies. He shakes nervously. "I am Horel. This is my shop. I have a variety of goods for sale when we aren't closed." He is pale even for an Avernite. The recent crisis has drained his courage, and he probably didn't have much of that to begin with. Let me see your wares. Bronze sword seems useful. 4 to 12 damage, that's not bad. Sell something, yes, let's sell that sword. Thank you. And this is the Formello Inn. You are surprised to meet a familiar face in this grim city. It is Oliver, the merchant you first met in Fort Monastery. He still carries his heavy pack, full of equipment and goods for sale. However, he is finding that it is hard to recruit customers when everyone is terrified of going outdoors. He is as pleased to see someone as he knows as you are. He takes a swig of ale, stands and bows. "Oh yes, the wanderer, the adventurer, the one who still has both money to spend and the capacity to smile. Oliver is still at your service, selling that which makes your adventures possible. Alright, what have you got? Oh, thank goodness, I was despairing of ever having another customer. Are you buying or selling? Selling, no. Something to buy? Emerald, gauntlets, you longbow. Nice icon for that. Nothing we need, though, thank you. How have your travels been? Well, getting through the Longtail clan's lands was tricky, but they were still recovering from the damage you inflicted upon them, so I managed to get by. I hoped my fortunes would improve here, but everything is kept locked up. The money, the women, they are all locked away for fear of the shade. How did you get the guards to let you in? Creative bribery. Okay. Have you seen the shade? Of course not. Oliver is no fool. I have never gone anywhere where I might see it, because then it might see me. Oliver leans back in his chair, drinks slowly, and banters with you. He tries to be of good cheer, but the prevailing grim mood makes it very difficult. Know anything about what's been happening here? Very little. People aren't asking, and I'm not talking. I know that the mare is barely holding it together, and that makes her in better shape than most of the townsfolk. When the shade is around, they just won't stay in. They won't just stay inside. Most of them won't even talk. Quite unsociable, if you ask me, and bound for business. Where will you go next? Well, I wanted to go south to the ruins of the Tower of Magi. I've heard there is good salvage that can be bought there cheap, but first I need to get past the quarantine. Quarantine? Last I heard, the road between here and the Eastern Gallery, south of here, has been blocked by magic barriers, keeping monsters out. Or in, I don't know. Say, if you ever are south of here and find that the quarantine is lifted, could you let me know? I'd pay for the trouble. Sure. This is Formello's Inn. Looks like it would normally be a comfortable place to grab a place at the counter, stare into the fire, and swap tales. Right now, however, the inn is nearly abandoned. You approach the innkeeper, who is standing behind a large cask and trying to act invisible. When you get close and he realizes you are determined to speak with him, he shakes his head. Sorry, friends. These are bad times. No rooms, no service. I'm Kirchhoff, and I never wanted it said that I wasn't friendly to a guest, but... Well, I guess I'm not very friendly. Not these days. I can't get a room? No, it's murdering me not being able to rent rooms, but I have to say no. I just sell provisions. Before you go. The shade is here all the time, you know? And when people deal with strangers, it's... Just leave me. I have a wife and children to think of. Can I at least know something about what's been happening? All right. I'll tell you about the roads, if that will help you leave sooner, I mean. The road south of here isn't good. The mayor declared a quarantine and had the passage to the Eastern Gallery blocked by magical barriers. So you'll probably have to go back west. The caves to the north just have monsters. The last people who got out of the south were some mages. They came here to build this pylon. Come to think of it, our trouble started not long after the pylon went up. Tell me about the magic barriers to the south? Just what it sounds like. Nobody gets through them without the mayor's permission. And she doesn't give it often. She's afraid of the monsters to the south coming up here. And a good thing, too. At least someone around here is acting. There are monsters to the north? So I hear. A dragon used to live up there, and the tunnels are still full of weird dragony magic. But you're an adventurer, so maybe that's just good news for you. Tell me about the pylon. It's stone and it hums, and it's in the park to the east. Nobody goes near it. The mages, they just came in, built it, and left. Didn't talk to nobody. And you know nothing about it? Well, my cousin said his friend overheard a fellow telling another fellow that he'd overheard one of the mages saying to another mage that the pylons might have something to do with something in the Fort Avernum in the Eastern Gallery. That might just be a rumor. Okay, then. And we were told that there is a surprise in one of the rooms. Well, let's see what we can do. Probably in the upstairs room. Well, let's take a look. Nothing there. Oh, that looks like a zombie. Pretty strong zombie, too. Okay. Guessing of that. Can you hit it from here because you can't skip into the doorway? That works. There we go. Alright. Casting of that to remove that. And again, casting to remove that. Okay. Belt, gloves, and heavy boots. Yes, heavy boots we could use. Did it drop anything? It did not. Alright. Kirchhoff thanks you and pays you in cash for your help. He also gives you a bottle of liquid that Rick has left behind. He wants to be rid of it. It scares him. Gremlin wine. Useful. Alright. And here, nothing more on the job board yet. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Guard quarters, bit of a mess. You are near what was once a lovely park. It was a large clearing surrounded with 4 curved pools with elegant fungal formations and pretty trees and chirping bats and so on. The area is now a disaster. The plants are dead and the ground is covered with signs of recent carnage. The air is icy cold. Okay, let's leave it alone. It's located in the center of this place. Couple coins. Ah, the park. It is a nice place here. There's the pylon. Touch. Something happened, we don't know what. Strange. Alright, what's up here? This was once the main marketplace of Formello. Merchants from all over the underworld came here to hawk their wares and get precious goods to take back to the rest of Avernum, and even to the surface. The presence of the shade had a predictable effect on this center of commerce. The place is abandoned. Lichen and moss have already begun to cover the stone tables. Nothing in there. Huh. The passage to the south has been caved in by a magical explosion from the look of things. You've heard of this passage. Most Avernites have. Once, years ago, a group of adventurers traveled through it and down a long river. At the end of their journey, they made the first contact between Avernum and the Venati. Since then, for some reason, the passage was sealed. There's been no contact between you and the Venati for years. Oh, there's someone up here. I think, yeah. There is a man hiding in this cave. He is old, filthy, skinny, and tired. He wears the robes of a mage, but worn and torn to a humiliating extent. Looks like people have been sneaking food up to his cave here, but not enough of it. When you entered, he was lying on his back on his pallet, staring up at the ceiling and thinking. When he sees that you are an adventurer, he jumps up, seizes your hand, and shakes it.
Yes, yes, I've met many adventurers in the past, but I can't remember ever being so happy to be visited. I am Sage Townsend, and this miserable foul pit is my home for the moment. I am currently engaged in study of the shade afflicting us, and that is why I am hiding here.
Why are you hiding back here?
Because the shade only attacks those it can see, those passing by on the road, and so on. That is why everyone stays indoors as much as they can. Which is, alas, not always. Because I have spent so much time studying it and speaking with outsiders, I believe if I left I would be an instant target.
You are studying the shade?
Yes, I am, as best I can. Its power is so great that I do not think we will be able to defeat it without considerable insight and knowledge. I watch it as it stands still, as it selects prey, and as it fades away and returns. And one day I hope I may have an idea of how to defeat it. Since the shade is absent now, I rest and think. I must be strong when it returns, and it will.
How does it select prey?
Nobody is sure. It just stands there, still and silent as a statue, for days at a time. And then one day someone is walking on the road, and it swoops out, chases them down, and freezes them. There's no sense to it, no hope.
And nobody escapes?
Sometimes, if someone runs far enough and fast enough, the shade loses interest in its prey and returns to its home. But sadly, this rarely happens. We have also learned not to run indoors when we are selected. This usually only means the death of everyone in the building. It is possible to share the shade's rage with others.
Do you know what makes someone more likely to be selected?
Dealing with outsiders, speaking with merchants, travelers, adventurers, knowledge and cooperation attract the loving attention of the shade. I do not know if the creator of the shade made it in order to isolate us and keep Avernites from cooperating with each other, but that is the result.
How does it arrive and leave?
This is in itself not interesting. It appears, it disappears. The question, I think, is why does it travel? There are several shades afflicting the cities of Avernum. Our shade splits its time between here and Silvar to the south. We are not sure why, but I favor the simplest explanation. This way it can ruin 2 cities instead of 1.
Yeah, that does make sense. And how might it be defeated?
I do not know. The blows of our warriors barely affected the foul creature. I would not recommend any heroics. You will only end up interestingly shaped blocks of ice. To find its weakness, I think that we must find its origin. We must find its creator.
And who created it?
That, I think, is the greatest mystery of all. It is the heart of all the others, a mystery that I hope one may solve.
He looks down at the mark on your hand, then back up at you.
I have told you what I know. To learn more, you must rely on your own resources.
Okay, then. Sage Townsend sits on his pallet and smiles up at you. He has to squint to see you in the dim light. The vision of Avernites frequently fails as they age, a side effect of the constant dim light. Have you known many adventurers?
Yes, in my decades in Formello, I have met some of the most famous and illustrious adventurers in all of Avernum. I have seen many unhappy times.
You are a sage. Can you train me?
Not in magical spells. You should go to the library for that. But if you are not extensively schooled in the magical arts, I can provide some pointers on general magical technique.
What can you teach me? Arcane lore and spellcraft. We'll have to keep that in mind if ever we need to. And we may need to learn it at some point. Just trash there. This must be where the shade goes. Okay. One look at the abbess of this temple tells you that this is not the shrine to a peaceful religion. She has a mace at her belt and a breastplate under her robes. If a shade decided to invade this place, she would die fighting. She looks at you over when you enter the temple. Then she nods. Another warrior in Formello. I approve. This is the Temple of Unbroken Justice, and I am Abbess Hayen. This shrine is an island of sanity in this mad, mad city. What are the beliefs of your shrine? We believe in justice, and we believe in doing what is necessary to attain it. Some are content to wait for the afterlife to get the rewards for a good life. We would prefer to see people rewarded for virtue in this world. Of course, many things in Avernum will only properly respond to force, and if that is what is necessary to bring justice, we will not shrink from it. So you go out and fight a lot? Not lately. I am brave but realistic. I am getting older and my flock needs me, but do not think that I have shied from battle in the past. Fair enough. At least you know where your limits are. Where do you wish you were fighting now? I do not know. The threats against us now are not the sort that can readily be dispatched with a mace. Our foes lurk deep under the water or behind a shield of terror and black mist. But one day those responsible for our afflictions will step forward, and when that day comes, I will hit them. And why can't we use maces or axes? Really, why are we stuck with swords? I mean, don't get me wrong. Given the choice between the weapons, I prefer swords. They have a lot more versatility to them. You can stab and slice with them, as opposed to axes, which just hack, and maces, which just bash. But why can't you have that kind of variety? Although I will give them props, at least, for giving the option for spears. Yeah, you know what? It is weird. Maces and axes, you see them all the time in other games whenever there's alternate weapons. But spears are almost never seen. Why don't we see more spears? Bring in more spears. Abbess Hayen stands upright and somberly speaks with you of the many threats to Avernum. She is a very serious woman. As time passes, you notice that her mace has been dented by heavy use. Has it been a struggle to help Formello? Constantly. My flock hides in their homes, terrified of the shade. My acolytes fled, unable to bear its constant presence. But I will do what I can to help. How do you tend to the people? I visit them in their homes. They are too scared to come to me, after all. I walk the streets, and I remind them of what it was like to be free, to be human. Or Nephil or Slith, but still free. Do you know anything about the Shade? No. She points to the east. Sage Townsend is hiding in a cave that way. He is a thinker. If anyone knows about the Shade, he does. Me, I think pondering it, beyond figuring out ways to kill it, is just a waste of time. I disagree. Finding out other things would actually help more. Finding out ways to kill it, sure, you'd kill it, but then you'd still be left with the questions of who brought it, if it came on its own, and why it's here or why it's doing what it's doing. All important questions. Can you teach me any spells? She inspects you again. Perhaps. You are a fighter, I can see, but my order does not help just anyone who comes through the door. Those my order arms must be tested.
I'm willing to be tested.
I thought you would be, and we of the shrine have made a place of testing to refine our own strength, to keep us sharp for when the trial comes. It is a stone circle east of Formello against the far cavern wall. In the middle of the circle is a crystal. Touch the crystal, survive for a time, defeat that which is sent against you, and return to me. Then if you are worthy, I will teach you.
Very well, we'll do so.